Hello everyone. Just last week, ICICI Bank launched iStartup 2.0, a program for startups that takes care of their banking as well as beyond banking needs such as regulatory assistance, analytics, staffing, accounting, customer acquisition, and digital customer outreach. The launch comes as a boost to the MSME and self-employed segment in India and will play a key role in strengthening the segment and furthering its growth. And to tell us more about iStartup 2.0 and its benefits, we have with us Pankaj Gadgil, Head Self-Employed Segment, ICICI Bank. Let's get right at it, Pankaj. Now before we deep dive into the specifics, I want you to tell us about the iStartup 2.0 program and the need for such a program.
So I think it's a very good question. So if you see, globally, I think if you look at what the startup ecosystem contributes, broadly the numbers we get published as around $3 trillion worth of economy, which is globally what the startup ecosystem is all about. Correct. It is also fairly concentrated when you look at this globally. There are 6 large hubs globally where the startups really proliferate. Back home in India, when we have been looking at how the numbers stack up for startups, and a very good barometer for the same, I think is the number of companies that get registered on the Ministry of Corporate Affairs site. That is a good barometer, for checking what's happening on the startup space. So when we were looking at, these numbers, we looked at, how the numbers are moving, and we saw that, the numbers had moved to 1.6 lakhs, at the end of last, financial year. Earlier it was about 1.4 lakhs. And the numbers were quickly climbing. So we are actually seeing a 2x kind of a jump that was happening in the last 3 years, as far as the companies that were, getting registered as far as the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, side goes. Here, typically private limited companies and LLPs typically, get registered. We were looking at as to how we can look at this segment, because this is a growing, fast-moving queue, the way, I would, call it. A lot of innovation also happening. We were also seeing that, the way the segments were, constituted, the way geographically, how the companies were coming up, we were also seeing a trend. Earlier it used to be very, very metro focused. Just the way globally it is that, 6 hubs contribute to 50% of the global, startup ecosystem. In India also, it was largely a metro story. But, slowly we are seeing that, although on absolute basis, there is a growth in metros, but the non-metros also are actually growing. So keeping with this theme that, India was moving away from concentration, keeping up with the theme that, it was a fast moving queue. We thought that, let's look at this segment, more in details. Let's find out as to, what the real requirements of, these customers are. And that is where the iStartup 2.0 program was kind of, I would say, conceptualized.
This iStartup 2.0 program offers, current accounts, eponymous current accounts in 3 variants: platinum, gold, and silver. This is the widest range, offered by a bank to any startup. Can you tell us how startups can benefit from this?
So I think it's a very good question. So and I'll take a one step back, to understand as to why this platinum, gold, and silver, and as to why this proposition, was kind of evolved. I think the first and foremost, when we looked at these startups and we interviewed, just the way anybody would want to capture the customer insights, we kind of captured the customer insights from what's happening globally, what's happening in India, on this space. We also looked at our own customers, where we had acquired these customers, and also the potential kind of customers to know more about 2 things. I think first and foremost, we wanted to look at, what are the banking opportunities? What is that the customer is looking at, with the perspective of banking when he's looking at a bank, when, somebody is looking at, starting up a startup in India. Second is, what are the challenges beyond banking, which these consumers are, already facing? And, when we looked at these 2 things, 2 star things came up. When it was banking, I think the first and foremost, priority was that, people wanted to bank with a bank which is digitally evolved. That was the first and, foremost insight which, kind of came in. The other insight was that, they also wanted very simple personal banking solutions for them and their teams. So typically, startups, let me say, that always felt that, the way large corporates are treated, and there's a salary account which is, customized for large corporates. Can something be also given to the startups? So that also was, a requirement which kind of came in from the startups. And fourth is we also were looking at new age lending solutions. So I think 4 large, takeaways from the banking needs, of these customers. So these 4, insights clearly came in when we looked at the banking, requirements of, this iStartup. On the side of challenges, I think first and foremost, first challenge was, they were looking at, raising funds was the biggest, challenge. Second was to do with the regulatory compliance, account keeping, bookkeeping, and also, customer acquisition. I think those are four, large challenges that we, put them in buckets. So these are the four banking challenges. These are the four challenges that they faced in their business, and that was the genesis of the product. And I personally feel, and the bank always has this philosophy that at every point of time, just the way all roads lead to Rome. Similarly, yes. I think all roads lead to customer is very clearly the way we are thinking through when we're designing products, and all roads lead to customer, which meant that these 8 things had to kind of come in when we were designing the solution. To your question specifically as to how will the iStartup 2.0 benefit customers, specifically on the business banking side, and then I'll cover the other aspects as well. I think first and foremost, I think the first requirement was that for the first year at least, when you start your business, or whenever that you start, and this is more for the early stage kind of customers, they do not want to get bothered with a minimum balance that typically is required to be maintained by customers in their account. They would maintain definitely, but that stress they did not want to have. So that was the first feature that we built, where for the first year there are no QAB charges depending on the balance that you maintain. That was the first thing that came in. The second thing which kind of also came in is, typically banks would allocate relationship teams, relationship managers to customers once they evolve. There they said that we are going to become big, so can you provide at least a virtual relationship manager or a dedicated relationship manager in some cases? So we said, okay, we'll provide you one, because we genuinely believe that you are going to become big in the years to come. So that is also built into the proposition. As far as many of these segments and the sub segments of startups, an important requirement also which was there was that some of them also do trade and remittances. An IT kind of a startup would typically end up having a lot of inward remittances as well. So they wanted one single account which would do basic banking and will also facilitate the cross-border transactions. So in this product, we've actually combined the benefits of a cross-border and also a domestic account. So it's a one-stop shop account. We also give a EFC kind of a facility. So if money has come in dollars, you can also keep them in the dollar account and maintain from that side. So that also became a critical requirement, which is weaved into the proposition. We also weaved in a very smart salary proposition, which actually comes. So even if there are 5 employees, 10 employees, 12 employees, also we actually end up giving a PPA code to that customer. So there's a salary proposition which actually goes, and weaved into the salary proposition. There are many multiple propositions that we have. For example, for a salary account customer, there is a Amazon card which you kind of get, where benefits of 5% additional discounts at all points of time is actually given to our customer. Or a very simple benefit which is there in terms of instant credit on Demat. Typically, if you do trading, you will have a T+2 or T+1 kind of a settlement which will actually happen into the account. We have given a facility where the funds get settled same day. So there are a host of benefits like a pay later, a very very micro credit line which the customers can enjoy if you're a salary account customer, up to 20,000 rupees, which you can use on any of the e-commerce sites when you are actually shopping, is also kind of weaved into the solution. A salary OD also is weaved into the solution. So these are some of the solutions that we built on the personal banking side also, so that the startup is very comfortable when he or she is kind of banking with us. Now, when it comes to the way we look at the various requirements, I think one of the very important requirement is also about making the transactions very simple. And I think that is where we kind of link this up to a solution that we launched 18 months back, which is called connected banking. And it's very very important for you to understand, and also the viewers to understand, as to what is connected banking and how can that get linked up to the iStartup 2.0 program. Many of the small businesses, Vishal, I think you will echo these thoughts. I think 35 to 40% of their time actually gets wasted in terms of doing reconciliation. They're trying to reconcile with the banking and the accounting, trying to reconcile their billing and payments to their banking. I think this is a problem statement that we identified very early. And what we've done is we've done two things. One, we've provided a direct, one-on-one integration through API with the client, where you can link up your accounting platform with us, and you can end up doing your banking transactions on the accounting platform itself. So at all points of time, you are perpetually reconciled. You post
I
the
can be on
transaction.
any platform. I can be on
Yes.
any accounting platform.
On any accounting platform. And the other thing that we have done is, so this is a one-on-one route that we have, kind of built, which is customized, made to order kind of a thing. We've also, forged partnerships with more than, 50 such players who are there in the space of, accounting, billing, also payments. And at the apex itself, we have done this API integration. So if you're, let's say, a Zoho customer, right? Zoho is a large accounting platform, and it's a very large partner for us. So if you're a Zoho customer and if you're an ICICI Bank customer, with a single click registration, once you're registered, the entire banking, which is to do with your payments, fetching banking details, all can be done through being on the Zoho platform. So I think that also connects very, very well with the iStartup 2.0 program. So if any of these players are actually having any of these players who we are already partnered with, they can do this integration and avoid the time that they take on reconciliation. So that's the beauty of the entire
There are so many industry first features. There's so many industry first features. I want you to elaborate on them. Say, I mean, at the moment we've already discussed 5-6 already, I think, right? Just to summarize quickly, what are these programs? I like the Zoho books that you mentioned. It integrated Zoho books, which is so fascinating for us. We are on Zoho too, right? So I understand the pain points of reconciliation. So if you can elaborate on each of these industry first features and why ICICI Bank's iStartup 2.0 is leading in this, I think the community would appreciate.
I think when you become a member of iStartup 2.0 as a program, I'm talking about banking, and then I'll talk banking,
Yes,
what's beyond banking also, that we've kind of
people talk about neo banking also. They call this neo banking. So let's talk about that.
Sure. So I think the first and foremost advantage that the customer will get is that he will get access to InstaBiz, which is our mobile application, which is having a very, very large penetration as far as small businesses are concerned, and more than 150 services are actually baked into the InstaBiz application. So lots gets spoken about mobile applications for individuals, and I want to take this opportunity to also convey to all the viewers and everybody who's listening to this. I think is that we have tried to understand all the journeys of a small business, a medium-term business, a startup, and we've kind of integrated all these journeys. So typically, a small business would do banking transactions, he would want to do compliance, he would want to do avail loans, he would want to also do networking, and one would also want to do cross-border. I think these 5 journeys, we have kind of put them together in the InstaBiz application. So if you're on InstaBiz, typically you can generate your virtual payment address immediately for your business, and you can start collecting money instantly through UPI. So there is no requirement of any special onboarding. Once you're an ICICI Bank customer, generate the VPA and start collecting through UPI. You can do it through a dynamic QR. You can also do it through a static QR. You can also do an SMS on invoice. So that's a large benefit. The other benefit which Vishal clearly emanates, if you're from an InstaBiz, a platform in the iStartup 2.0 program for which it's very, very relevant. The InstaBiz application also allows you to grow your business. So you can post your offers. There is a method by which you can post your offers. We curate them, and to the entire bank's base, which could be the individual base of customers that we have, and also the InstaBiz base, you have the opportunity of also sending your offers to everyone. So it actually creates a very, very big marketplace for the small business and the startup who is coming in and joining the iStartup 2.0 program. The other thing which is an industry first, on this side of the story, is we are the only ones which will also allow settlement of an inward remittance. And we were speaking about remittances right on InstaBiz. So typically when an inward remittance comes, what will happen in most banks is that you will have to speak to the customer, then customer will give a disposal instruction, then you'll give a purpose code, then you will settle. All this can happen with a few clicks on the InstaBiz application, and you are kind of done, right? So the first and foremost, I would say, advantage is coming in because he's becoming a partner of InstaBiz, right? The second thing is that, as I mentioned to you, the lending solutions are tailored as per the phases of the customer. And this came in a very interesting insight. When we looked at these customers that we were interviewing, there were many, many entrepreneurs who were also, had done about, 10, 15 years of, stint in jobs. And then they were becoming entrepreneurs, right? So they had, on their personal side, a lot of debt mutual funds, which were there. They came up and said, okay, I have a debt mutual fund. Can I give this as a mutual fund as a, collateral to you? And can you give a facility to my company? That's typically a third party, loan against mutual funds. We said, okay, let's curate this. let's make this digital. So today, a loan against mutual fund, you can avail digitally if you are an iStartup 2.0 customer. Also, many of them had some fixed deposits also with them on their individual names, which are because they have saved over the period of time, and they would want to retain that money. They don't want to invest that money, so they would want to just have a fixed deposit. And with a very preferential kind of an offering, we have curated a FD against OD against FD kind of an offer also for the customer at the growth at the startup kind of a stage. As the customer kind of grows his business and becomes 2 years old and 3 years old, and there's some kind of flow which starts. There is something called as Insta Overdraft. In your introduction, you kind of spoke of Insta Overdraft. We built this proposition in the last 2 years. It's very well embedded in the InstaBiz application as well. You can get an overdraft facility with 3 clicks. So you get an overdraft, and most of the small businesses don't require a term kind of a loan, because then your interest is kind of fixed. They want to use it, whatever money that they use, they want to pay the interest only for that money which is getting used actually. So I think Insta OD is the second large benefit that the customer gets. The benefit of mutual fund, loan against mutual fund, also I kind of spoke of. The benefit of connected banking, I've already kind of covered. The trade remittances getting settled there and then is also a very, very important feature. Where you are in the transaction through a dynamic trade dashboard is, I think, a great feature there. And the fifth feature, which is I want to elaborate on this, is that about 3 years back, along with the fintech, we built something called as a networking platform. And this came into us from customer insights. When we were addressing small businesses in a seminar, I remember, many of these customers standing up and asking me. There was a shirt button manufacturer. He actually stood up and said, Pankaj, I want to ask you a question. I said, what's the question? So he said, sir, that you said that, you have a very big franchise of, business banking customers. I'm sure there will be many of your customers who are into manufacturing of threads. And you may have many customers who are also into, local manufacturing of shirts. So he said, can you create a platform, where, we can network very effectively with like-minded customers? We could be suppliers. So in short, can you enable forward and backward linkages for us? That was the ask, which we understood. And, we partnered with a fintech, and we've created something called as a Biz Circle, which is a networking platform. So all these iStartup, 2.0 customers will also have the unique opportunity. It's a single sign-on. Once you, sign in, on our internet banking platform or also on InstaBiz, you can, very, very simply, you can sign on Biz Circle. And then you actually get to create your virtual visiting card. You get alerts. You are able to network, so on and so forth. So I think that is also a very, very interesting facility, because when I spoke to you, the 4 last things that, they're talking of when it comes to the challenges, the 4th thing was to do with customer acquisition. So if you can help them directly, indirectly in acquiring more customers, it becomes a more interesting, proposition when they're evaluating propositions, when they're starting the business.
Pankaj, this has been so insightful. Thank you very much for coming today and talking about the iStartup 2.0 program and telling me about why this program is a small step for a bigger leap in the future for you. And for our viewers who are watching, check out this quick recap, all-in-one and comprehensive iStartup 2.0 program by ICICI Bank. With its banking and beyond banking features, the program enables startups, MSMEs, and self-employed businesses to address specific business needs, which are calibrated, and these industry-specific solutions can actually help you transition towards a digital and seamless future. Okay, guys. So thank you, Pankaj. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Vishal, and hope that your family and you both are very safe and healthy, and wish you all the very best. I think it was a great opportunity for me to come up here and speak about the proposition which we have kind of curated together. Lots of teams together have actually done this together, and I'm hoping it will serve the requirements of the startups that we are wanting to serve, and allow them that extra bit of time which they will get by using these solutions in their core business, and looking forward to them adopting this in times to come. Thank you so much, and stay healthy and stay fit.
Thank you, everybody.